Okay, guys, so let's face it, we live in a social media driven world. And social media can have a lot of benefits, like helping us to stay in contact with people we grew up with and people from our childhood, helping us to keep in touch with family and loved ones, sharing information and ideas throughout the world, entertaining us by showing us cute pictures of baby kittens and baby puppies. But for many of us, spending time on social media can be mentally and emotionally taxing. And there have been numerous studies on social media platforms and how these platforms have impacted us psychologically and emotionally. And one of the biggest concerns that I often come across as a therapist who helps people with body image dissatisfaction is self-comparison on social media. People want to know, how do I stop comparing myself to other people on social media? How do I stop comparing my life to other people's lives on social media? And believe it or not, it's something that a lot of people, including myself, often struggle with. Whether it's looking at other people's lives on social media and thinking to ourselves, boy, they really have everything figured out. They must really have it all together. Or looking at our favorite fashion influencers and fashion models and thinking to ourselves, oh my gosh, their bodies are just perfect. I hate my body. And those are the kinds of negative and distorted thoughts that can really take a toll on our mental health if we allow it to. Okay, guys, so I wanted to share some tips that really help me when it comes to keeping self-comparison in check on social media. And yes, I know that the title says overcoming self-comparison, and it's a little bit clickbaity because the journey to self-love and self-acceptance is a long-term journey. And I don't know about you guys, but some days the way I feel about myself may be a little bit better than other days. And some days it's a little bit worse than other days. And that's completely normal. So now let's get into it. And oh yeah, my name is Stefanie. I'm a licensed therapist who helps clients to regain control over their relationships with food, body, and inner self. So follow me. Okay, so now let's get into it. Number one. Okay, so number one is remember that even the most natural looking content and imagery that we see on social media can be highly curated. And what that means is that content can be edited, it can be manipulated, it can be changed. And because of that, we really have a very unrealistic perspective. Remember that people are more likely to post their most flattering photos and their best video takes. We rarely ever get to see what ends up on the cutting room floor. And this can really give us a false illusion of perfection. So I once heard somebody compare Instagram to a digital version of a lifestyle magazine, and to me that is 100% accurate. Instagram's whole vibe is very aesthetically pleasing, or at least photos that appear to be very aesthetically pleasing video content where everything is perfect. You have the perfect lighting and the perfect color grading. You have the perfect music and the perfect setting and location. And that's just not realistic at all. And I cannot remember her name, but there is one influencer on social media who really shed some light on and gave us some insight on what goes on. And she mentioned that, in order for her to get that perfect kind of Instagram-worthy influencer-related picture, she takes about 100 to 200 shots, just to get that perfect image that she posts. And really and truly, that's accurate. That's the reality of media. Whether it's social media, television, broadcast media, that's the reality. And this comes from somebody that, in addition to being a therapist, has a degree in mass communications and did spend a little bit of time working in broadcast media at an ABC affiliate station, and that ended horribly with me leaving crying and never turning back, but that's a different story. Everything turned out for the best because I'm a therapist now and I love what I do so much. So I said all that to really say that everything that you see in media is pretty much fake. I would say 90 to 95% fake. And what's not fake is either highly edited, scripted, manipulated in some way. So the faster that you know and understand that, the better you'll begin to feel about yourself. Number 2, I hit my glasses. What? 2. Number 2, try following more accounts that present authentically on social media. So what that means is, if you follow the fashion influencer, and let me just say that there is nothing wrong with following the fashion influencers at all. Nothing wrong with that. But if you notice that following those fashion influencers are causing you to experience negative thoughts about yourself that lead to negative self-comparison, then it may be time to work on balancing out your feed a little bit, if you know what I mean. And what that means is, following the fashion influencers, but also following other creators that make you feel good about yourself, that post content that's authentic and post content to lift you up, post content to motivate you, post content to educate you. And really having that balanced perspective on social media just helps to give you a more realistic, holistic view of the world around you. All right, guys. Number 3. My finger. That's weird. It's like it's hard to put up. Number 3. Focus on your own progress in order to avoid comparison traps. Okay, so this tip is for those of you who may be aspiring creators and you may have experienced putting out an awesome piece of content, fantastic, perfect, great, and you're thinking to yourself, why hasn't anybody found me yet? Why hasn't anybody discovered me yet? And then you may begin to look at other creators' content who are doing really well, and you just think to yourself, well, my content is good too. My content's pretty good, I think, right? I'm saying some really good things too. And then you may begin experiencing some negative thoughts. People don't like me. My content isn't good enough. People don't want me to succeed. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not talented enough. Maybe my information is just not good enough. When you begin to notice that you're negatively comparing yourself to others, try to refocus on your original purpose for coming to social media. Try to focus on what initially brought you to social media. What was the reason for you wanting to be on Instagram or start a YouTube channel or do TikTok? What caused you to do that? Was it to help people? Was it to bring laughter and joy into people's lives? Was it to share important information or get an important message out to the world? Was it just to stay in contact with friends and loved ones? And that's okay too. After all, that was the original purpose of social media. It may be difficult, but try not to measure yourself against somebody else's progress. Try to only measure yourself against where you are now with carrying out your original purpose versus where you were at a month ago, or where you were at 2 months ago, or a year ago, or 3 years ago. Only measure yourself against that. And also, don't forget to celebrate your progress. No matter how big or small you feel like it is, everything is relevant. A win is a win. Number 4. Let me show you my nails. Let me see. Do you like my nails? I got a compliment on my nails the other day and I was so excited. Here are the new nails. Remember that it is okay and even beneficial to take a break away from social media if you need to. So if you notice that negative thoughts related to self-comparison on social media are causing you to experience depressive or anxiety-related symptoms, then it is completely okay to take a break if you need to. In fact, It's actually recommended. Take a break, connect with your therapist, or if you don't already have a therapist, I always link resources in order to connect with a therapist, and I'm going to link it today in the description down below so you'll have it. Connect with a therapist and really process and work on the underlying reasons behind the self-comparison. Is it rooted in low self-esteem? Is it rooted in possible underlying childhood trauma that's never been addressed? Therapy will help you to get to the root cause of the underlying issue so that you can begin working towards your path to healing. And don't forget that social media is always going to be there. I know that a lot of us experience FOMO or the fear of missing out on something, but what's more important, keeping up with your favorite gossip creator or nurturing and attending to your mental health? Of course, the answer is the second one. And that brings us to number 5, and they're kind of connected, but number 5 is don't forget to engage in activities and with people who bring you joy and happiness outside of social media. There is this whole thing called life that exists outside of social media. Sometimes we just need to step away from our devices. We just need to, step away from our phones, step away from our tablets, step away from our computers, and really just, be social off of social media. One of the great things about socializing with other people is that it gives us a sense of being connected. Social media actually gives us a false sense of being connected, and that's because we may feel like we're connected with other people via parasocial relationships. However, the reality is we're not. Part of being connected is not just talking with people on social media. Part of being connected is having a support system, is having someone where we could just, get out our cell phone and, text them, or better yet, call them and just kind of check on them. It's having somebody that we can spend time with, go to the movies with. And when we're around people in real life and engaging in enjoyable activities, that really does something for just boosting our dopamine and our serotonin levels and just making us feel good, especially when those interactions are pleasurable. Keyword, pleasurable interactions, because sometimes we can get around people and it has the opposite effect. I know. For my introverts out there, fellow introvert, sometimes it's only, sometimes I have to limit my time around folk because sometimes I have to limit my time around folk. As a fellow introvert, I get it because that social battery starts to drain real quick. But even for people who are introverts, I still benefit from social interaction with other people. I still benefit from, spending time and having that sense of fellowship and that sense of connection with other individuals. It just, rejuvenates me sometimes. So it's a balance. Okay, so that's all I got for today. Those were my 5 tips on overcoming negative social media comparison, or overcoming negative comparison on social media. These are short videos because my ADHD does not allow me to go longer than about a few minutes, maybe 10 at the tops. Guys, so that's all I have for you. That's it. That's all. Do y'all want to hear a joke? Okay, what happened to the snowman when the sun came out? He had a total meltdown. This really helps to give you a more holistic, realistic view of that space. Yeah.